It's time for the North Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome in to another edition of the North Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com. District 1 and 2 every week in the state of Idaho. Brandon Baney joined by Ryan Scaggs. What's going on, Scaggs?
What is up? Just more snow. That's all. That's what we do up here north. It's just snow.
Yeah. Have there been school cancellations, game postponements, that type of stuff?
No, because we're actually tough up here.
Well,
that's me ripping on my Southern Idaho brethren.
I see. Now I thought you were taking a dig at Washington, because we'll talk about,
Yeah, not them too, but yeah, no, I'm taking at Boise schools too. I saw they had a snow day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Where I live in East Idaho, a lot of snow here also. So it turns out, trying to sell a house and in a blizzard, tougher than selling it when it's nice outside. We got like 4 or 5 inches of snow the day the realtor came over to take pictures and post the house that we're trying to sell and stuff. So it was
interesting. To get a sign in the ground with frozen dirt.
Yeah, seriously. Our realtor was like, I might have to come back with some boiling water to get this bad boy put in, but we'll see. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do they put that in there? It's here to be just jam it in the snowbank left from the city plows, but yeah.
Yeah, the berm that's left over. Yeah.
Stake it in the berm.
For sure. Stake it in the berm. That's our podcast title. Write that down real quick. Okay, so yeah, we're talking about weather because I think the biggest story from North Idaho last week, Ryan, was the first ever Nike Northwest Invitational Showcase event that was put on by North Idaho College and Nike. Obviously, there were some other corporate sponsors in there as well. NIC, any chance you could give us that contact info for Nike? Get some of that sweet Nike dough coming our way.
Gatorade was in on that too.
Yeah, they got some heavy hitters. Good job there by Corey Simmons, the men's basketball coach at NIC. It was supposed to be 4 of Idaho's best against 4 of Washington's best. It was going to be Lapwai against Linden.
Yep.
You were going to have a Waihe play Rainier Beach. You were going to have Lake City play Garfield, and then Coeur d'Alene was going to play North Central. What happens, first of all, is Garfield. I don't know what's going on at Garfield High over in Seattle, but they've got an interim coach now, and they were like, the Coeur d'Alene Press did a nice job of reporting on all this. They said basically Garfield was like, with an interim coach, we don't want to go over there and walk into the Lion's Den, so we're out. Okay. Yeah. Well, they replaced that with Foss High from Washington, which is a good quality opponent as well. Mm-hmm. So then Lake City was going to play Foss. Well, then all of the Washington schools basically said, Snoqualmie Pass looks a little dicey. We're not going to be able to make it.
Yeah, that was a train wreck. The pass was awful last weekend. There was 3 consecutive days where the pass was closed due to multiple car accidents and pileups, and it was just a total mess and slide off. So I don't blame them for not coming over. It would have been awesome to see Rainier Beach play Waihe, but personally, I think the game that we got was what everybody wanted. But yeah, that's just me.
Yeah, so they had to basically modify the schedule. North Central, being from Spokane, they were able to still come over and play. So North Central played Coeur d'Alene, and then Waihe and Lake City kind of looked at each other and said, hey, neither one of our dates showed up. You want to go to dinner? And so
Lapwai was the kid on the wall at the school dance without a partner, man. That sucked for them, because like I was looking forward to watching that team play.
Yes. And so for Lapwai, they just had nothing and they stayed home, which was a bummer. Well, I'm sure they still went up and watched.
Yeah, I sat with a bunch of them. There was a bunch of the kids on the team there, and I sat with Jeremiah Wynot, and Case was there with some of his buddies, and the coaching staff was there too. So yeah, they represented. They were there, and they actually talked about the team, during some of the breaks and stuff, like kind of how they were disappointed they didn't get to play. But it was funny. I was like, Lapwai sitting there, St. Mary's was sitting there in the crowd. I'm like, let's make this thing happen. You're both here. Like, did you bring your shoes? I mean, we could have probably had a triple header there, which would have been cool. But
yeah, of course. They famously played each other last year, St. Mary's and Lapwai did. And, I thought, the NIC men's basketball team, let's throw them out there for a scrimmage against Lapwai. let's see how
they
that
played that Gonzaga club and beat them by, I think, by like 60. So, I mean, it probably would have been more competitive, but
yeah. So, but I mean, long story short, all things considered, I thought NIC did a pretty good job of pivoting and making the best
yeah.
of a bad situation. So, yeah, Coeur d'Alene gets a easy win over North Central, right? Looked pretty
Yeah, I'll
good.
tell you what, I'm impressed with that Viking lineup. That they are, I mean, they had, they played, their starting five, and they had another five coming off the bench. And Nip played great. Logan Orchard had an awesome game. I think he was the top leading scorer in that one. And then, Simons, the freshman, came off the bench and played awesome. And, so there was a lot of role players for that Viking lineup that just looked really good. And, I was kind of question marking there because Burgess didn't play in the game, and they didn't miss a beat without him. And that's no slight to Steven. He's a great ball player, but I just think that lineup's so multiple and how they can show up night in and night out. They don't have necessarily a lot of size down low, but man, they can sure cover the perimeter. And they shot the lights out too. They played really, very unselfish basketball, and got that win against a North Central team that had the decisive size advantage. I mean, they had three guys in that lineup over 6'8", and they had 2 6'8" guys and a 6'10" player, and those guys did nothing. I mean, they shut them down, and it was probably well at hand halfway through the third quarter. And the Coeur d'Alene Vikings, I mean, they played awesome ball and looked good. I was super impressed with what they did.
Yes, Coeur d'Alene looks awesome. Coach John Adams does that. He'll play 9-10 guys a game without batting an eye, and it's a system that he runs, and it's really impressive. Coeur d'Alene off to a 3-1 start. Their only loss came to Ferris, the Saxons from Spokane. They lost
a good team. Yeah.
Yes, they lost 65-49 in their season opener, and we'll find out. I mean, Coeur d'Alene's going to go down.
That team is coached by Gonzaga legend Corey Violet, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know if they still are or not, but
wow, there's a
there. There's a name right from the late '90s. If you're a college basketball fan, but yeah, I could be wrong on that one now, and he's not there anymore. But I think at one time he was coaching at Ferris. But yeah, Coeur d'Alene looks great. Coach Adams, and the one thing that stands out with me is that bench energy. Like the energy from that team, they are all in, man. They are like so enthused with what they do, and they're engaged, whether they're playing in the game or they're on the, they're listening to the coach, they're cheering for one another. And that's just something I think the energy stood out in that one, was that you just look at how they play and they just want to win. And I think that's going to bode well, as you go through the season.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, Ferris is 3-2 on the season, a 3-point loss to Chiawana. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Chiawana, they're a good program too, out of Pasco. Yeah.
And they lost by 9 to Gonzaga Prep. So
yeah, those are both state caliber teams. So that's a good program right there.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll find, I mean, Coeur d'Alene's going down now to Las Vegas to play in the Tarkanian Classic starting next Monday, December 19th. They'll be there right up until Christmas time. So we will see how Coeur d'Alene continues to progress. So that was kind of the table setter.
Yep.
And then we had this big showdown, the premier 5A programs in the state of Idaho, Lake City, Owyhee. Not close. It kind of reminded me of a couple of years ago in college basketball. Speaking of Gonzaga, when Gonzaga and Baylor met in the national championship game.
Oh yeah,
these two juggernauts, and Gonzaga was undefeated, and Baylor had an easy time with them, frankly. And Lake City did the same to Owyhee. They win by 20 points over Owyhee. I talked about how Lake City was going to fly under the radar because they don't play any Idaho opponents until the very end of December. But now that they've had a chance to beat Owyhee by 20, now everybody's taking notice.
Yeah, and that lineup. I mean, and Owyhee struggled a little bit shooting from the field, especially in the first half. They bounded a bit of a run coming out of halftime, and then Lake City was just able to slam the door shut. Colton Mitchell was the best player on the floor, and it wasn't even close. I mean, he scored 39 in the game, and he was just going bananas. And he easily could have had 50. And he was just being unselfish and dishing. And Nathan Hawking as a role player on that lineup, I mean, I think that he's the X factor in the offensive side of the floor because you get so many teams that are going to focus on Blake Buchanan and Colton that, he gets left open on the perimeter. He just drills jump shots. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's from 3, if he's shooting from, the elbow 12 to 15 feet away, he's just dropping them. He played a great game. The one thing that stands out with that lineup too is Zach Johnson on the defensive end absolutely handcuffed Hawaii defensively. They had no answer for him on the defensive end of the floor because he's just so physical and he's so athletic. He gets in great position and they couldn't get drives to the hoop. A lot of their stuff was coming, short mid-range jumpers just because they couldn't get to the rim. And Blake, obviously pretty good rim protector. The one thing I've noticed in his game this year is he's gotten way more aggressive on especially on the defensive end, but on the offensive end as well. He attacks the hoop really well this year. But you didn't see him showing off his jump shot that he's really worked on too. But like that is a complete high school team. I'm telling you, like that is one of the better teams I've seen at the high school level in a long time. And I went to high school with like Josh Heitfeld, to talk about Gonzaga lore. And I got to watch him play Adam Morrison in like a shootout back and forth in high school when Adam was at Meade. I'm telling you, this team is like, those caliber, like upper echelon teams. I mean, that performance that they had on Saturday night was impressive. Everybody came out of that gym just like kind of a gasp, like they just did what to the defending state champs. And I mean the defense, it was just suffocating. That the defensive end of the floor for the T-Wolves was a spectacle.
Yeah, I'm curious. Obviously, Hawaii has this very heralded junior Liam Payne, who's famously got an offer from USC last year after a tournament in California.
I mean, you were talking about Jack Payne from last year and thinking Liam Campbell?
Yeah. Sorry. Yes. Liam Campbell. Yes.
Yeah. Zach Johnson shut him down single-handedly.
I was gonna ask if Johnson guarded him.
Yes. It was kind of a trade-off. They'd have Zach on him or they would put Nathan Hawking on him, and they shut him down. Like he really just was not a factor in the game.
Yeah, that so I said Liam Payne earlier. Do you know who that is?
No.
Ryan? This is my radio career bleeding into sports. He's one of the guys from One Direction, and then he went and had a solo career as well. So yeah.
Yeah, no, Liam Campbell. I mean, he struggled in the game, and really, I mean, I was sitting there with Brandon Fury and with Jeremiah Wynot, and just looking at each other, we were just a gasp. Like it was an absolute spectacle of what he was able to do. He was scored at will. Like they just had no answer. He would crossover dribble, take a step back, drain a three like it was nothing, and he'd go drive the lane, attack the hoop, get a layup. They just had no answer for his ability to score. So I mean, I think it was in the Coeur d'Alene Press, Coach Winger was quoted as saying, Idaho State got a gift in that one, and I'm standing like that. He's a higher caliber player than Big Sky, but yeah, if he's gonna go to ISU, he's gonna start right away. Like that kid he's the truth.
Yeah, so Colton Mitchell is already Lake City's all-time career leader in points.
Mm-hmm.
And then he set the record for most points in a single game in that win over Hawaii with 39, which is just, Skylar Burke is still going, hey, I put up 41 in the All-Star game last year from Coeur d'Alene, but
well, it's one thing too if you're like scoring 39 against, Lakeland or something like that. He did it against Hawaii, like the then number one team in the state. Like that was just an incredible performance. I can't, sing that team's praises enough. I think that they're the complete it's going to be themselves beating themselves going down the stretch through the rest of the season. I don't want to play super prognosticator and overhype somebody, but like the only way they lose, I look at it, is if they beat themselves.
Yeah, and for Mitchell and Buchanan and Johnson all started as sophomores.
5 seniors starting in the lineup. I mean,
yeah,
come on.
the journey they've been on, where as sophomores they got to the state championship game and lost to Meridian. Then last year as juniors come into state as the number 1 overall seed, ready to get back. And, they famously stubbed their toe against Centennial in the opening round and lose. So this is a group that's focused and motivated to get back to that championship game and finally deliver as well. So, and you can see that certainly.
I like their bench too, a lot better this year than last year. They're not so heavily reliant on, just the starting 5. They got a couple role players came in and played key pivotal minutes for him, and the bench looked great. I mean, for that Lake City team, and there's still some youth on the back end. You get outside of the starting five, all those guys that are playing on the back end are coming back. So things are going to be okay. They're going to be a different looking team in the future. Obviously, losing a starting lineup that is crazy good with 4 Division I caliber players and an NAI. It's okay, fine. Ottawa University is one of the top NAIA programs. Like, you can't be too ho-hum about that lineup. So it's definitely something to keep your eyes on throughout the season of what they're going to be able to do. I think having that early test with Owyhee, definitely sets them on the right path. I think that they're gonna, I don't want to say rooster walk, through the rest of the year, but they kind of proved it now. So now they can back it up a little bit. And I think we'll see them make a run to the state championship. I really do. I feel it's their year.
Yeah, for sure. Last point on Colton Mitchell. I'm going to make another dating analogy here where like Colton Mitchell is a 10 and Idaho State is like a 4, and they're like way out kick their coverage here. So Idaho State is like checking in every day, like, hey, how you doing? You still good? You still want to be with me? You still want to?
They got a great personality, good parents.
I mean, Idaho State has got to be like, no offense to Idaho State, but Colton Mitchell, I think could. And with the transfer portal now too, I mean,
that's what I look at. Maybe it's a stepping stone. I don't know, but like I look at his skill set. Some people say like he gets slighted because he's only like 6'1". I don't care. The dude can freaking play. Like, give me a break. For all we know, maybe he gets flipped. I don't know if he gets flipped in the senior season or not, but like, there's got to be teams that are still knocking on that door for sure.
Yeah, Idaho State is just like holding on here. Like, okay, come on, just let the ink dry and we'll see. But yeah, anyways, great win for Lake City.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, speaking of eye-opening performances, we got to talk about Lapwai. We're not going to talk about Lake City and Lapwai every week on the Prepcast, although we could. But we'll highlight other teams. But man,
they want to throw some sponsorship, our way. I mean, we could make that happen probably pretty easily.
Yeah, we could, right? But they're just demanding our attention right now. I mean, let's talk about. So Lapwai last week, Case Wynot comes out and scores a triple-double. 36 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists. I can't remember the last time I saw somebody hit a triple-double in high school basketball.
Hitting a triple-double and then doing it sometimes you'll see it with a big where it's like blocks, right? He's playing unselfish basketball still. I mean, you look at he's able to put up 36 and he's still dishing double-digit assists.
Yeah.
I mean, that tells you that the brand of basketball that Coach Eastman's crew is playing. Like, you look at last night, they hung triple digits again last night in their win over Clearwater Valley. And then, you're getting Elias Yearout's getting 23. You get a double-double out of Terrell Ellenwood Jones, and then you have Wynot going off for over 40 again. Like, this lineup, I mean, this team is outplaying their classification, but easily. But I would put them on par with the upper echelon teams, any classification in the state. I mean, just look at how they play, and not only are they good, but they're unselfish. They don't have to rely on Case, but it just so happens that he goes off. But it's not like they're dishing it to him every single trip down the floor, because he's passing the ball well too. And, he's averaging, I believe, over 6 or 7 assists a game. So if you're seeing that out of your top scorer, that's telling you your team's pretty well balanced.
Yeah, Terrell Ellenwood Jones in the win over Clearwater Valley last night. 15 points, 15 assists. Like, what?
Yeah. I mean,
it's insane.
That's just crazy. And I mean, obviously dunks don't count for extra points, but they're throwing it down with the best of them right now. I mean, we had it on our Instagram page, but there was a dunk last week. If you can get on, I know it's on YouTube too, but if you go follow Lapwai's basketball program, there is an alley-oop that is like Sports Center top 10 worthy, like, pass. I mean, I don't know how Terrell threaded the needle with that alley-oop, but it was unbelievable to see the vision of Case cutting on that. It was just crazy. And so if you can find that one, that was pretty awesome high school play. It was pretty outstanding. Yeah,
pretty legit. So back-to-back games, Lapwai defeated Genesee 105-32. then they beat Clearwater Valley 105-34. So Clearwater Valley's looking at Genesee going, yeah, we at least scored 2 more points than you guys did.
Yeah, and it makes it fun. I mean, and you look at some of the other programs. I mean, like, I don't want to say circling dates on the calendar, but the game with Lakeside's going to be fun coming up on the 4th of January. Looking forward to that one. That's going to be an outstanding one. And there's some good basketball being played at the lower levels right now by a lot of these teams statewide. And there's players to watch. It's not just the 5As anymore that people keep their eyes on, or like the Hillcrests of the state. Like you got to keep your eye on this, like the lower classifications. There is this high quality play that's going on. Not just Lapwai. I mean, Oakley and Grace and those teams down there are playing really well too. So yeah, it's going to be fun. I think once we hit the state tournament, I think that the competitive balance is coming back a little bit. Obviously, Lapwai is trying to curb that because of what they're doing to everybody else. But it'll be interesting to see what they can do at the Avista tournament coming up in a couple weeks down in Lewiston. They're going to get to play, the likes of Lewiston or Pendleton, Oregon, or Moscow, Clarkston, Washington. So there'll be some of those teams at that tournament that they'll get a chance to play some bigger schools.
Yeah, Lapwai opens with Moscow at the Avista tournament, and from there it all depends on who else advances. And then right before the holidays, on the 22nd, they're going down to Oregon at Treasure Valley Community College, and they're going to play Baker High School from Baker City, and they're 4-1.
Yeah,
Baker Bulldogs. So
I mean, they scheduled up. I mean, obviously opening and what they did to Post Falls at the beginning of the year. It would have been great to see what they could have done with Linden, which is a great 2A team in the state of Washington. So there's other games that are out there, like kind of teams that you're watching, like, Pullman beat Lewiston the other night. Which is a smaller, it's the same classification as Linden. So that tells you the quality of basketball that happens in the state of Washington. That Coach Eastman did the right thing with his scheduling this year. I think he really was able, with what he's able to schedule, did a great job setting up, the competitive balance for that Lapwai team. It's just, you can't just say, hey, you're going to play us this year. If you're a 1A D1 team, you're not going to get every 5A team to schedule you, because it does put a dent in your max preps rating. So, people are understanding, like, they have to look at it. It's like, well, why won't somebody play Lapwai? Why can't they go play these guys or these guys? Because they're not going to schedule them, because it hurts their ranking. Even if they lose, like, it really hurts their ranking then. But
if you win, the computer goes, well, you were supposed to win.
Exactly.
And which is why I give kudos to Coeur d'Alene last year, Post Falls this year for scheduling it, because I don't think Coach Adams or Coach McLean care about max preps that much, to be honest. No. They just want to get better, which is how it should be. So
sure. But you're going to get the teams like, I mean, if you're looking at like Eagle, Hawaii, Lake City, teams that have a lot at risk for when that comes state tournament time, you're not going to see them scheduling the 1A D1 state champ, no matter how good they are, just because the computers don't care.
Yeah, it is unfortunate for sure. So speaking of Post Falls, let's talk girls hoops. The Post Falls Trojans, wow, 8-0. I mean, this is insane. Look at this: Post Falls 8-0, Lake City 8-0, Coeur d'Alene 6-0. We've seen this movie before, right? This happened last year. All these teams.
Where have we seen this before? Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to give a special nod to Post Falls, though. Of course, we're never biased on this Prepcast, but a colleague of ours, Brian Hall, is the head coach for the Post Falls girls basketball team. He was a broadcaster for us during football season. He's done baseball for us in the past as well, and basketball. But man, he's got the Lady Trojans rolling at 8-0. And I think that's the most impressive, because we knew Lake City was going to be good coming into the year. We knew Coeur d'Alene was going to be good. Post Falls had the most question marks in terms of, okay, they maybe lost more than those other two, but they haven't missed a beat, and they just picked up a big win over Mount Spokane.
Yeah, Post Falls, I look at them too, and they're once again, we talk about unselfish basketball. They play a complete team game. I mean, they're really just bought in, and they can win multiple ways. They need Capri Sims to go throw up 20. She can do it if she needs to. If she needs to contribute and just get 13 points and 10 boards, like, she's going to go do that down low too. I saw that she committed this week to Central Washington University as well, so she's going to play D2 ball. for the Wildcats out in Ellensburg, that's awesome for her, and congratulations for the scholarship and the ability to play at the next level. But yeah, it's just a balanced lineup. I mean, we saw that last year with what they had, and we thought that they were young last year, and they had a few senior pieces that were role players in the prior runs that ended up they surprised a lot of people and got to state and showed up. But you look at Post Falls and what they do. I mean, that league needs 3 bids. I'm just telling you, like, the truth on that one. But they're going to certainly make things interesting the rest of the way. I wouldn't be surprised if they split with Coeur d'Alene in the season series. And that's no slight to Coach Simon's team, because she's a great coach and has a great program around her too. I just look at what they do, and they play. They ratchet on defense and they slow the game down so well. They keep themselves in a lot of ball games, and they're going to win close ones.
Yeah, it's going to be, again, fascinating to watch those 3 duke it out all regular season long. And then knowing that, okay, only 2 teams get to advance out of districts, and only one team is guaranteed a spot at state. Second place has to go in that play-in game. It's going to be heartbreak for somebody really, really good. So expanded playoffs. I don't know.
Just expand the opening round. There's a way around that we could fix, but do we want to fix it's the question. But that's another conversation for another day.
For sure.
You still only add 4 more bids. That's all it is. 4 more bids in one weekend. You play on the play-in weekend. It's super easy. Problem solved. But
yes. Anyways, if only it were that simple. Both Falls girls are going to go to the Gisa Winter Shootout starting next Monday. So good competition again. And the Curtis Classic is coming up on the boys' side. We mentioned Lake City's going to go there over in Tacoma. So
they're going to get to play some Western Washington teams that play a physical up and down brand of basketball. And you talk about transition buckets. There will be no shortage of that in I think in those games. But Lake City's going to be able to handle their own. I really look at that. They're going to finally get a chance. I think they could see Rainier Beach there, if I'm not mistaken, which would be cool to see them play that team. But there's going to be some good programs over there on the west side that are at that tournament.
Yeah, for sure. And then speaking of out-of-state competition, let's turn the page to wrestling. Friendly reminder, we have a standalone wrestling podcast each and every week. It's called the Matt Chat Prepcast. It's on IdahoSports.com. We go and we do it live.
You guys did awesome last night. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, we have, I'm just the host. I'm not an expert by any means, but I bring on a lot of smart people that know the sport really well. And so we have a panel and a discussion, and, fans can get on and give shout outs or ask questions. We do it live every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific time on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Twitter account. Yep. Of course, you can go back and watch it on replay, or you can download it as well. And download it audio only at IdahoSports.com or wherever you download your podcast. That's the Matt Chat Prepcast. It is a wrestling only podcast. But Ryan, I know you love to talk wrestling, so let's break it down. This is one of my favorite weekends of the year because it's tri-state. Yep. It's Washington, it's Idaho, and my home state, Montana.
Yeah, no, and Tri-State's a great tournament. I mean, you look at it, you got the juggernauts from Montana, like Flathead. They were just last week, and I believe they came to Inland Empire and won it. If I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to pull up the team scores from that one. I can't find them right now on the spokesman review, but and then you have obviously like Post Falls is there. Meade from Washington, from Spokane, is another great program that comes over. Central Valley's always got a tough lineup. University from Spokane. You'll get a lot of actually schools from like Western Washington will be here, and some schools from the Tri-Cities area. And then you always get like some of these hammers that come in from like the smaller schools that'll always be like Potlatch always sneaks a few in that are like hyper competitive. And it's an awesome tournament because you don't get to see, it's not like what you expect if you go to like, no offense to District 3, but like you go to a tournament down there and it's just like the same schools week in and week out are always there. To where this one, you get to see guys that you won't see the rest of the year, with the exception of some of these schools go down to Raleigh Lane. But, it's the chance for the small school guys to show up. And usually you'll get some like eye openers, like matches that, you get a defending state champ from the state of Washington gets, stuck in the first round by a kid from Bonner's Ferry. I mean, it's pretty cool that, see the level of competition that happens there, and that crew that puts that tournament together does a great job inside the gym at NIC, and the friendly confines, you could say, but that place gets packed out for that tournament, which is awesome. But it's been historically one of the better tournaments in the country, for a long time, and obviously the last few years with Washington and the way things happened there with COVID, that some of the schools had to drop out. This year is going to be the first returning, I think, full field that they've had for wrestling. So it'll be interesting to see what happens now with everybody back at full strength with a lineup of just absolute juggernauts that are going to be there.
Definitely. So Meade won the team title at the Inland Empire last week. Coeur d'Alene took 4th in the team standings, and we had some individual champs. Dax Larson won the 145-pound title in overtime over a kid from Colville. And then Preston Jeffs of Lakeland won at 285 by pin. So
keep your eyes on like Colville, that Washington team. They're a 1A team, but man, they're bringing a full lineup to Tri-State. There's going to be some weight classes there that are going to be stacked. I look at 132, where you're going to have Hoyt Haas from Lewiston. He's a fun little wrestler to watch, man. That kid I've seen him wrestle since he was a little guy, like 4 years old. He was, bringing home national titles and stuff. So like the kid can bring it. So it'll be interesting. I think the Bengals bring it, a couple of really good wrestlers in. Robert Storm from Lewiston at heavyweight, Preston Jeffs at heavyweight. There's, Clash of the Titans that could be happening there at Tri-State. So there's going to be some definite matches to watch at Tri-State, and you're going to see most of the lineups with kids coming out of football. Everybody's kind of near full strength for wrestling and conditioning wise. So you'll see a high quality product this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be so exciting for sure. And you mentioned Haas from Lewiston. It was either him or somebody from his family was watching live last night, the Matt Chat Prepcast, because they
wouldn't
came
surprise me if it was his dad. His dad was a Clarkston grad too. So
yeah,
shout out
it
to
was
him.
yeah. So somebody from the Haas clan was on there last night. I do know that. So and then one last wrestling note I did want to touch on as well is Grangeville this weekend is going to be hosting the first Andrew Beck Memorial Tournament.
Awesome.
We talked about this a couple of times throughout the year. Andrew Beck, an icon in the wrestling community, really a pioneer in terms of women's wrestling in the state of Idaho. He's got daughters that wrestle.
Cadence she's legit, and she'll probably win a state championship this year. And
yes,
yeah, it's a big loss. No, he was a great guy, and like you said, a pioneer especially for women's wrestling in the state of Idaho. And there's a lot of girls in the state that, with having their own state tournament now, that can attribute that to a lot of the efforts from Andrew and getting that thing rolling and getting that ball moving in the right direction for women's wrestling, and giving an opportunity let's just look at participation numbers for girls wrestling this year in the state of Idaho is insane. It's awesome to see like the numbers that have blown up. It's in the what was it, around like 300 this year, if I'm not mistaken?
Way past that.
Yeah, or 500. No, it's 500 and something. Yeah, it was like 525.
Yeah. So they needed to. So last year it was eight woman brackets, right?
Yeah.
And they wanted to expand it to 16 this year. And the IHSAA came in and said, okay, well, we need at least, I think the number was, don't quote me on this, I think the number was 600.
Okay.
They said we need 600 participants across the state to expand it to 16, and they blew past that.
That's awesome.
I want to say they're pushing up to like 800 almost.
If that's the case, because I know that participation, they said, was like through the roof this year compared to prior year, which is awesome to see. I mean, and to the fact of having a girls' state tournament, Washington does it. It's just been, and I saw when they first put that in the Tacoma Dome there in the state of Washington. I was coaching at the time. Was just awesome. Like it's been fantastic, and the quality of wrestling and what you're able to see. And then now the colleges have been adding women's programs, and the ones that are, in our geographical region, the women's programs that exist are just at a super high level. It's something I see continuing to grow. And, it's something I think that we'll start to, Idaho, I will say, we'll start to carry the banner on, I think, when it comes to women's wrestling in the future.
Yes. Okay. So I want to correct the numbers I said earlier. We all know I'm not the number cruncher. So I think the number was 550
Okay.
to get to, and they got to like 630.
That's awesome.
Certified wrestlers for girls this year.
That's so
in
cool.
Idaho.
That's
So
awesome.
16 participant brackets at girls state
Heck
wrestling.
yeah.
This year.
That's as it should be. That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah. So we're so excited. And Andrew Beck, of course, really was one of the founders of getting that movement started. He'll be recognized this weekend in Grangeville at the first Andrew Beck Memorial Tournament. And so we'll keep an eye on that this weekend as well. So, all right. A good weekend of competition, especially on the wrestling side, but we're going to have some interesting basketball matchups as well. And we'll be back again next week, Ryan, to break it all down on another edition. Stay warm up there.
Yeah, I'll wear my Santa hat next week. So.
Yeah, that's right. It's it'll be the North Idaho Prepcast Christmas party. We'll
that's and it's it'll be a fun weekend, I think, especially with wrestling statewide. You got some big tournaments coming up throughout the entire state of Idaho, so that mat chat's going to be blowing up and start popping off here in the next few weeks with Tri-State, and then you have Raleigh Lane coming up right after the new year, and rolling through the meat and potatoes of the season. Like there's, you got kids that are going down to the Ironman, and gosh, state of Idaho is definitely turning heads in the nation as far as wrestling goes, and some big name recruits coming out of the state too.
Yes, we got done with the Matt Chat Prepcast last night, and we got done and we said we're going to have so much to talk about next week because everybody is competing somewhere this weekend, and so and Ryan, again, I have extended the invitation to you off air, but you are welcome anytime you can to come.
Yeah, I can join for probably about a half hour. I'd have to dip out, but yeah,
that's about what we I try to keep it to about a half an hour. So we were at 31 minutes last night, I think, on the match chat. So
perfect. Yeah, I was there for like the first 22.
Yeah, or at least we can bring you on at the beginning to talk about Tri-State, because you're going to be there this weekend, and you're going to be shooting. You're going to be shooting some stuff for the IdahoSports.com Instagram.
I will. Yeah, since now I have the login capabilities to do that, and I will definitely be posting some clips on there. So make sure you follow the page through the weekend. And I'll try my darndest to tag the kids if they've got an Instagram account. So make sure that if you're a follower, go follow our Instagram page and tell your kid to follow it so we can tag your kid. Just FYI, make sure to get our athletes the recognition that they deserve. So if you can go ahead and follow our Instagram account, and then make sure that your athletes are following too, if you're a parent, that would certainly help us out so we can make sure we tag the right people.
Yes, definitely.
Not some random Nathan Hawking from Minnesota.
Is that what happened last weekend? That's funny. Well, I'm sure he had a nice surprise when he looked into it. Yeah. Anyways, mistaken identity.
That's right.
It's all good. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody, to another edition of the North Idaho Prepcast. For Ryan Scaggs, I'm Brandon Baney. We'll see you back here next time on IdahoSports.com.